I am joined by a whole host of fabulous guests here on the show today, from the United States of America, across the Atlantic to just across the border over in the West Midlands. But here in the studios in Haverfordwest this morning, I've got Rachel Jenkins, a very good friend of ours that reached out to me a little while ago. Rachel, thanks for joining us here this afternoon, first and foremost. Tell us all about this. I mean, this is just the most remarkable family historical World War II story.
Okay, thank you so much, Toby, for reaching back out to me when I reached out to you.
Pleasure.
The reason we're actually here is for a number of reasons, but initially because Elana Broch, who's currently sitting in the States, said, I think you should get in touch with a local radio or newspaper to let them know what's going on. So very briefly, one of my cousins, Catherine, contacted us to say that they'd been contacted by a couple of people who've been trying to track our family down because one of our family members, a great uncle of mine, Captain Davies, in the Second World War, was sent to France on a mission to rescue some members of the Czechoslovakian government, and as well as some Polish troops, Belgian troops, French troops, and many Jewish refugees. So and what we've got today is Peter, my cousin, who was Captain Davies's grandson. We have Miriam Mark, who's actually on board the Apapa, that was the name of the ship.
Wow.
And her daughter, Sandra, who's down in Sevenoaks in Kent. And also Elana Broch, her mother and father and grandmother were survivors on that ship. And my father is here as well today. And my father was, one of his first memories was of Captain Davies's funeral.
Wow.
So I think that's all I need to say. I'm here just to connect everybody and to get everybody together and get this story out there.
Colin, I mean, how fabulous is this? I mean, here we are sort of some 83 years on, and we're here talking about this remarkable story, and everyone is now sort of really starting to be reconnected through this. I mean, what a fantastic story, but what an awful thing for you to go through to be connected with.
Well, absolutely. Rachel mentioned my first memory. That was my first memory of life, was the day of his funeral, when his two sons, who'd been at war, were home for his funeral in, I think it was September 1945. And that's my first memory of seeing these two men in their naval uniform. That's as far back as I can go, and I was 3 years of age at the time.
Wow, incredible.
And I was brought up hearing the stories of Uncle Vaughan.
I mean, you could almost create a film out of this. I mean, the story is just absolutely remarkable, and we've got we have all of the family here now live on Pure West Radio. Miriam, thanks for joining us here this afternoon. I mean, how remarkable is this, having you all together and talking about this experience?
I think the whole thing is very remarkable, really, and I'm so grateful to this Captain Davies for saving us. I remember I was a small child, and I was there where we were on the quayside. There were thousands and thousands of people, and there was a little boat which came out to pick up a few people and take them to the big ship. And we were on the third one, which was the last little boat. And the captain just said, well, this one and this one and this one, just get on the boat. And that was my father, my mother, and my mother's sister, and myself. Now, I don't know, he was sorry because I was sitting around on my father's shoulders, around the back of his neck. And it was just amazing that we were rescued. It was just amazing. And I remember my parents became friendly with some other people on board the ship, and they had a little girl called Bella. She was 2 years younger than I was. But I think we slept on deck. I cannot remember going to anywhere else. And I was 8 at the time. I thought actually I was younger, but I was 8 at the time. And when we arrived in Liverpool, there was a desk and there's men sitting at it, and I asked my father to sign. So he thought he had to sign from arrival or something. My mother said, "What is that he signed?" "Oh, he signed apparently to be in the Polish army." My mother went berserk. "Polish army, never. He will go to the British army." And that's what he did. That's what he did. And he was very proud of that too. It was
How
the
long were
proudest
you
moment.
on? How long were you on this boat for then, Miriam?
Well, I think the boat, I was told, the boat left on the 20th of June from the Mediterranean and arrived in Liverpool on the 7th of July.
Wow,
That's a very long time. It must have been a very big detour.
crikey! I mean,
Yeah.
that is, especially at the age of 8, such a harrowing experience for you.
Yes, but at the same time, I didn't see it that way. I mean, I did have one nasty experience there because I wasn't supposed to leave that deck, but of course I did. Went to another deck where there were Polish soldiers, and one picked me up and held me over the side of the boat and said, "Let's drown her, one less Jew." And I struggled. Of course, I could have fallen off, but I didn't. And somebody said to him, "Don't be silly. It'll just cause us trouble." Now, I had nightmares for years after that. So
I can imagine. I can imagine. Well, thank goodness your
Yes.
life was saved, and it's ultimately down to heroics of this captain. And Peter's with
Wonderful
us
man.
here now, showing us just the most remarkable photo. If you're listening at home, wherever you might be, if you head on over to our socials now at POS Radio, you can actually see a wonderful photo of the captain of this boat that sailed for many weeks and saved hundreds of lives. Peter, this story is just so remarkable, and bringing these people together all these years on. I mean, please tell us, your experiences of that being, such a poignant figure in your life.
Well, obviously, he was my grandfather, and I never actually met him because I wasn't born until 57. What I can tell you about him is that he went to sea at the age of 12 as a cabin boy on a German sailing ship, but then had lots of adventures out in the Far East, including going to Pitcairn Island, where the mutineers from the Bounty ended up. Later, he spent most of his time as a merchant officer with Elder Dempster in Liverpool, running down to North Africa. During the First World War, he was on a Q ship and sank a German U-boat, for which he received a DSO, which looks like that. If you can see that there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, where's it gone?
It's gone. It's fallen out.
Hang on.
Quite a collectible item as well. I mean, one you must absolutely treasure.
Is it in shot? I can't see.
I mean, it looks absolutely fantastic, Peter. I mean, obviously, one you must treasure and keep in a wonderful place in your home. But these stories must have, filtered down from, your grandfather to your father and through the family over these years.
Well, after that, and I would just add that one of the reasons the Papa took a long time was going on during the Dunkirk evacuation. It was going on at the same time, so it was probably pretty hairy all over the place. After that, he had many adventures, including going to Russia to support the White Army in its battle with the Bolsheviks. I'm leaving the Papa story out because I'm going to hand that over to Elana in a minute. But after the Papa thing, the Czech army awarded him this medal, which is the Czechoslovakian Medal of Gallantry or some such thing. And Obviously, Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. That's probably quite rare. He also received an OBE. But I also wanted to mention my grandmother, Ruth. Now, Ruth had 4 sons, 2 of which Collins mentioned, who were in the Navy. My father, who was a prisoner of the Japanese for 3.5 years, and his brother Ninian, who was a regular war hero, led a boarding party on the Cossack, if anybody knows about the story of the Cossack and the Altmark. Eventually he became a swordfish pilot in the Fleet Air Arm, and we believe was killed over Benghazi in 1942. He had a daughter, Heather, who is living in on the Golan Heights, last we heard, with her husband. So we've been trying to track her down since this Hezbollah thing's kicked off, but we don't actually know what's happened to her at the moment. And then really I'm going to hand over to Elana to tell you about the Apapa.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter and Elana, joining us from the United States to share with us this story. Thank you for joining us here on Pure West Radio. What time is it where you are at the moment, Elana?
7:30 in the morning.
7:30. Well, thank you ever so much for getting up and chatting to us bright and early. It's currently 20 to 1 here in the afternoon. It was a beautiful autumn's day, actually, here in Pembrokeshire. It was absolutely stunning this morning. How is the weather with you?
Which is rare.
I'm in Saratoga, New York, just for a few days, where it snowed the other day.
I was going to say, it must be pretty cold where you are then.
Yeah.
As Peter says, real rarity for us, actually. So we make the most of these crisp autumn mornings, that is for sure. I mean, just remarkable, this. I mean, what, as Peter was saying, just the respect and the award, the honorary that's been given here, just absolutely phenomenal due to the amount of lives saved during, an incredible, difficult war.
I'm a aspiring genealogist, and the story of, I thought about what I wanted to communicate and just how important it is to follow your gut and find who you can, and that there's a lot of stuff that can be useful information that isn't written down in a record somewhere. But I thought it was just a very cool story of meeting Sandra, because she put some random post out somewhere, and then I Google constantly, and I was able to find it. The Apapa is somewhat of a unique name for a ship, and then eventually, by searching for the name of the ship and the date, I was able to find Sandra's post and reach out to her. The other message I think about that is, if people do reach out to you and say, this is a crazy story, but you won't believe it, but my father was on that boat, to take it seriously and not think someone's trying to steal your bank account information. A lot of people say that they reach out to people and they get no response, and that didn't happen here, obviously. Oh, we lost Peter.
I mean, that is just the most incredible story. And I mean, Sandra, what made you take to Twitter and try and get this linked in and just try to find out exactly what was going on here, and just to try and pull all the family members together?
Well, like Elana, I'm actually a genealogist. Only I specialize in different sets of refugees, the Huguenots, but the people who invented the word refugee to mean those who found shelter in another country. It's a bit ironic as a Jew to be doing this, but it makes sense to me. And it's quite hard as the child of refugees to ask the questions of your parents and family who've been through trauma, because you don't want to open a Pandora's box of misery, but you also want to know your own family history. And Mum has been great at telling me little bits from her childhood, and I was putting the puzzle together, and I thought, I need to know about this captain who, according to the stories that I've read, but I could be wrong, was only supposed to pick up soldiers, Czechoslovak soldiers, Polish soldiers, anybody who was worth bringing back to England, to Britain, to join the British Army fighting in Europe. And he just thought, well, I've got everybody I need now. Let's cram the rest of it up to the Plimsoll line in July, which is about the highest you can go in the Mediterranean. And I've looked at the ship's manifest, and there are over 1,000 names on there. And then I thought, well, I must find out more about this captain. And, you know, one thing led to another. And then Dan Snow, the military historian, posted on Twitter a short thing about this large ship that left Korea in 1950. And I replied to him and I said, well, you know, that's why I'm alive today. I exist because there was another humanitarian man who took refugees. And yes, it's a lovely story. But I hadn't done more with it. And I am just so grateful to Elana for saying, no, that's it. And we're taking this further. And she has been brilliant. As like I found a cousin or a soul sister across the Atlantic. And it's been a joy. It's like extending family.
Yeah,
and to
I can
meet
imagine
Davies'
it is.
family and to be able to say to them, I am so grateful. All of my family is so grateful.
Well, you are all connected, you know,
Yes.
through this sort of travesty of World War II and everything that it stood for you to be here today and talking to one another, and the joys of technology, just to be able to have this conversation and also broadcast it to tens of thousands of people at the same time is quite special. So thank you ever so much to all of you for joining us here today and sharing your story with us. Absolutely remarkable. Rachel, thank you to you for thinking of us and bringing this, you know, to the forefront. And I guess just to get other people talking about history and how you could have extended family and people out there that, you know, you could be connecting with.
Absolutely. And when we met on Zoom about 8 weeks ago, I knew before we went live, I just, you know, Toby, do you ever find sometimes you just know there's a significant moment in time happening? And I knew it was something special. And it was Elana who was the one who said, we need to share this. And I'm really glad that it has. It opens up so many connections.
Yeah, phenomenal. Colin, thank you for coming in as well and sharing us, you know, some of your early memories. Could you ever imagine seeing, you know, extended family and people that have got this connection of that experience together here today in 2023?
Never ever thought that it was possible that there would still be survivors of that ship. And there are so many other stories about Captain Vaughan Davies that I was brought up with that, you know, they're too numerous here to tell today.
Yes.
Of his heroics and his humanity.
It's people like that have, you know, helped save so many lives, but also changed the course of history as well. I mean, it must have been remarkable being at his funeral.
Well, I wasn't actually at the funeral. I was actually stuck in a bog.
We won't ask why. We'll leave that one there.
No, not that sort.
In a field.
Yeah, where Peter himself, many years later, ended up as well.
Wow.
But it was all about fetching cows.
Okay.
Home on the farm.
Relief.
But I can see these two boys there. Well, the men they were really, because they went to war, laughing at my unfortunate situation. And many years later, I had the same situation with Peter when he fell in the bog.
Yeah.
But no, it is really remarkable, and some of the stories for these folk who suffered so much traveling across Europe to get to the south of France, and then to be taken on board, and then go out in the middle of the Atlantic with condors and all various aircraft flying around. And it is a truly, Captain Davies' story is truly remarkable.
It certainly is. Miriam, do you ever think this could be made into a film? And if so, would you be happy to tell your story?
I'm sorry.
Miriam,
could you repeat that?
Could you ever imagine this being turned into a film? And if so, would you be happy to tell your story if it was?
I think yes. I suppose it could be a film. Yes.
I certainly think it could be.
There's a lot which went on before we got to Port Vendre. We spent a month walking across from the north. And this was 1940. It was already wartime when all this happened. So, yeah, I could imagine it could be.
I wouldn't be too surprised if you do get an email or if something starts coming your way, that is for sure. Thank you to each and every single one of you for joining us here on Pure West Radio today and for sharing your story and, emotional as well, because, I mean, this is just phenomenal what has happened. And, thank you ever so much to all of you for sharing your experiences with us today. It means a great deal. So thank you from the West Midlands to the United States of America and here in Pembrokeshire for joining us here today and sharing your story with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think it's only fitting, really, playing this track called The Captain from Biffy Clyro. It's here on Pure West Radio.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us.